Hey Pilates Party people, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Caroline and today we have a 20-minute intermediate reformer flow. Here on your reformer, you only need a ball and your box. Today we are beginning our practice with footwork. So lifting the platform, changing the spring loads to one medium and one heavy spring. You can add on an extra light for a little extra kick. Laying nice and long onto the spine, those toes will wrap around the foot bar like a bird on a wire, lifting the heels softly. Shimmy shake the shoulders away from the shoulder rest and lift the sit bone just enough to slide the tail nice and long, feeling the length through the spine. From here we exhale to press away and inhale to fold back towards the stoppers. Exhale, press, inhale, fold. Things to keep in mind throughout our practice. Here in our footwork, we want to keep the heels lifted, folding through the knees and the hips, keeping the hips nice and heavy, and as you exhale, draw the lower abdominals towards the spine. Feel that engagement through the core. This time as you press out nice and long, we'll pause, wrapping one heel under the foot bar, folding into the opposite knee. We continue here, finding a bit of a march, going at your own pace, finding a calf stretch, one side and then the other. Next time you find both heels lifted, we'll lift and in one piece wrap both heels under, finding that calf stretch. Lifting the heels towards the glute and wrapping them around. Once again, you can go as fast or as slow as feels good to you, finding your calf stretch here. This time as you press away, lifting the heels, we'll fold into the knees, fold into the hips, keeping the hips nice and heavy. Here's the change. Lifting one leg to tabletop, pointing the toes, keeping the other toes on the foot bar, exhale, press away. Inhale, extend through the lifted leg and fold back into the stoppers. Continue here, folding as you press away into that lifted leg, and as you fold into that standing leg, the lifted leg extends. This time as you step nice and long through that standing leg, we'll press both toes onto the foot bar, lifting to the other side, repeating the practice on the other side here. Next time you press away from the foot bar, step both toes onto the foot bar and find some more calf stretches. Either find that marching or both heels wrap around and lift the heels to the glutes. Lifting the heels, this time we'll fold the knees, hinge at the hips, and find our way back into the stoppers. Beginning to set up for our bridge, lifting up to a seated position to change those spring loads. For our bridging series here, we'll find a little bit more support in the springs. Lifting the spring load up to one medium, two heavy springs. Finding your Pilates ball, we'll lay nice and long onto the spine once again. Lifting the sit bones just enough to lengthen through the tail, placing the heels hip-width distance apart on the foot bar, the ball in between the knees. Reaching the arms up over the chest, palms facing one another. Exhale to scoop the tail and imprint the lower spine. Lifting up vertebrae by vertebrae into that bridge. At the top of your bridge, we'll find that rib-hip connection, lowest rib towards the hips, and as you exhale, melt down through the spine. Landing vertebrae by vertebrae. Inhale to reset, exhale to lift. Inhale at the top, exhale to melt. Keep going here at your own pace, using the breath to find that pace. Resting once again onto the reformer. Lay the arms nice and long by your side. This time we'll take them with us. As you exhale, lift the arms, lifting up into your bridge simultaneously. Find that flow, melting and lifting. Option here at the top of the bridge. Inhale to squeeze the ball between the knees, then exhale, soften back down. This time we find your bridge. Here's the change. We'll pause at the top. Inhale to dip the hips halfway down towards the carriage, keeping the spine in a flat back or neutral, and exhale to lift them to the sky. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Engaging through the glutes, driving those hips up to the sky, maintaining that rib-hip connection in the front. Option to continue the hip dips, option to stay in pause, squeezing the ball at the top of that bridge. Squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and melt back down onto the reformer beneath you. Let the hands drape down by the side as well on the carriage. We'll change to find bridge extensions, hands onto the hips, finding your bridge, pause at the top, dip the hips halfway down and press out nice and long through the legs. Drive the hips back up as you drive the knees, sending them over that reformer foot bar. That's the way it feels, just driving back into that bridge, finding those stoppers. We'll continue here. This time, as you draw back into the stoppers, slowly melting the spine like you're laying a string of pearls onto the carriage below. Once you've landed, grabbing the ball from in between the knees and taking it into the hands. Finding your setup for hands and straps, we'll take the ball off to the side, lifting up, finding just one heavy spring here, option to find a heavy and a light spring if you want a little bit more kick. We're going to use that ball underneath the sit bones, finding a little bit of pelvic stability. So once you're ready, lifting the sit bones, placing the ball just under the sit bones here, hands in the short loops, and reaching the arms up over the chest. The hands align over the shoulders here, palms facing towards that foot bar. Reaching up towards the sky with the fingertips, let the sit bones feel nice and heavy here. Floating one leg, then the other to tabletop position, option to point the toes. Zipping up the inner thighs, knees and heels click. Exhale to reach down nice and long. Inhale to float the hands back up over the shoulders. Exhale to reach towards the foot bar. Finding a next layer, we'll reach the arms up to the sky, take the arms out to either side of the room, finding a T. Exhale, press the hands down towards the hips, float the hands down towards the carriage, and inhale, lift them up. Exhale, T, double exhale, hands to hips, turn the palms, reach them to the sky. Taking our movement pattern to up and down through the carriage, reaching the arms towards the foot bar, option to extend one leg and float back up to the sky. Exhale, reach the other, always making your way back to tabletop position, floating the arms and the leg back to the center. Option to continue that movement pattern or zip the inner thighs together, pressing down through the hands, reaching and extending both legs at the same time. Floating back to tabletop position on the inhale, exhale to extend double leg, reaching the arms. Here's the change. Next time you find that double leg or single leg extension through the legs, we'll float the hands down by your side and find a pulse through the hands. A small pulse, hardly moving that carriage. Pause with the arms. Start to bicycle with the legs, floating one knee into tabletop, the other extends over the foot bar. Float the legs back to tabletop, reaching the arms back over the shoulders, and take the feet onto the foot bar, taking those straps just into the pegs or the shoulder rest wherever they are able to land. Take the ball from underneath the sit bones and we'll rock and roll all the way up into our standing position. We have a spring load change, so option here to keep that spring load on a heavy or change it down to a medium. That's where I have it today, and that is a perfect level for me and my control over the carriage as I find my lunge position. Stepping onto the box with that ball in hand, we're going to step the outside leg right up against the reformer, inside heel up against that shoulder rest. Hips are nice and square, squaring them off to the front of the room. Hands have the ball, elbows wide. Folding into your arabesque lunge, fold through the standing leg, kick back through the kickback heel. Keeping the kickback leg nice and long, keeping the hips nice and square, finding that hinge from the hips, keeping that length through the spine. Using that exhale to press away, inhale to drive back up to the standing position, raising the crown of the head towards the ceiling, the sky. Zipping up through the inner thighs as well as you come to rise, engaging through the adductors or those inner thigh muscles. As you rise, setting up for arabesque rotation. Pressing out into your arabesque lunge, we'll rotate opposite elbow to opposite knee. Drawing back to center, zipping up the inner thighs, lifting through the crown of the head. Press. Rotate. Find your center and reach the sky. Coming into your rotated scooter, option to do this center, option to find that rotation. Press out into your arabesque, stay low. Rotate, fold the back knee in towards the standing leg. Press away. Draw in and press away. As you come into your next arabesque lunge, press out, this time driving back up to standing. Press through the standing leg to get there. Stepping off your reformer, stepping onto the box, and from the box, stepping onto the earth. Rest the ball next to the shoulder rests and walk around to the other side, facing the back of your reformer. Bring your spring load down to a medium if it's not already. Draw the knees and the hands onto the box, all fours here. We're going to take that inside hand up against the shoulder rest, keeping nice and square through the back of the shoulders. Exhale, press that reformer away. Inhale, draw it back. Press and pull. Keeping the shoulders nice and square, hips nice and square, even through the pelvis. And that exhale draws the belly button towards the spine, hugging the lower abdominals in. Option to stay here. Option to lengthen through the opposite leg. Lengthen, tap the toes, exhale, reach and lift that leg to the sky. Tap and lift, tap and lift. Inhale to tap, exhale to lift. We'll find a pulse here. Exhale, lift. Keep that arm nice and long, pulsing through that back leg. Pulsing for 3, 2, and 1. Draw the knee under and draw the carriage back in towards the stoppers. Taking the ball, taking it right in between those shoulder rests, and we'll grab a hold of that box, taking a nice short box onto that carriage. Finding a plank situation here. Slide the box right up against those shoulder rests, and find a nice kneel onto the carriage. Tuck your toes under on the platform. Forearms land onto the box, just under the shoulders. Exhale to hover the knees. Inhale to soften down. Hug the lower abdominals and lower down. You can always find this lower down as a rest point, but when you're ready, beginning to plank. Find that hover, press out, pull in, and tap down. Option to eliminate that tap, just finding that hover to plank. Pausing in that plank, pressing out, pause. Find that shoulder reach, press the elbows away and draw them back under the shoulders. Continue to repeat with the exhales, drawing those elbows away, and the inhales, drawing them back under. Draw the elbows back underneath the shoulders, fold back into the stoppers, and kneel onto the carriage. Coming onto the other side, finding our lunging series on the other side of our reformer. Take that box with you, slide it right up against the shoulder rests. Grabbing a hold of that ball, we'll step onto the box facing towards the foot bar. Once again, outside foot up against that reformer, inside heel up against the shoulder rest. Hips are nice and square, squaring them off to the front, elbows wide, hands on ball, press into your arabesque. Inhale, zip up the inner thighs, reach to the crown of the head. Press through the heel on the exhale. Inhale, draw back up to standing. Setting up for your arabesque rotation. Pressing away, pause, rotate opposite elbow to opposite knee, center, and lift back to standing. Press through the exhale, rotate. Inhale to draw back to center and lift. Setting up for your rotated scooter. Pressing out nice and long into your arabesque lunge. Pause. Rotate. Fold the back knee in towards the front and press away. Fold and press. Last 3. Last 2. Last 1. Press. Keeping the leg nice and long. We'll draw back up to standing. Taking the balls to the side, finding your way into all fours facing the back of the reformer. Make sure the knees and the hips are in alignment, the shoulders and the wrists. Taking that inside hand up against the shoulder rest. We'll exhale to press away and inhale to draw it back in. If you took the leg extension on the other side, taking it on this side as well. Tap the toes, exhale, lift, inhale, lower. Pressing that reformer away as well as lifting the leg, hugging the lower abdominals towards the spine, all with that exhale. Inhale to lower down, tap the toes. On the next exhale, pause for those pulses, pulsing the heel up towards the sky. Keep reaching through that hand onto the reformer for 3, 2, and 1. Fold the knee back under, draw the carriage back into the stoppers. We are finished with that box, so you're more than welcome to place it back into its home base, removing the ball just so it's out of reach of the reformer. And coming into all fours, reverse. So facing towards the risers or the back of that reformer. Finding a child's pose, taking the knees out to either side, big toes touch in the back and sink the hips down towards the heels. Melting the heart towards the reformer below, reaching the arms onto the rails and just finding that breath. Maybe even finding your expression of child's pose. Gently making your way back onto the rails with the hands. We'll stay in our child's pose. We'll find a little bit of extension in our child's pose. So keep the hips nice and close towards the heels, hands onto the rails, and as you inhale, open the heart towards the back of your reformer, pulling the carriage towards the heels of the hands. Exhale to melt back down. As you find the in-breath, the heart opens towards the back of the reformer and the gaze lifts just with the spine. Exhale, melting one last time. We'll lift the hips and draw into all fours. From all fours, we'll find our reverse abdominals. So walk those knees back just away from the shoulder rest, about a fist width distance. Hands walk just in front of the shoulders. Reaching the heart forward, the thighs will rest onto the shoulder rest. And as you exhale, draw the knees in towards the heels of the hands. Hugging those lower abdominals even more towards the spine here. Making sure the shoulders and the wrists stay in that beautiful alignment. Coming into the obliques, an option. Both hands on one rail. Draw the knee towards the heel of the hand, looking towards the heels. And just how you did it on the other side, we'll walk the hands over to the opposite rail, looking towards the heels, and exhale, draw the knees towards the heels of those hands, hugging the lower abdominals towards the spine, aiding in that draw. Well done. Finding a stretch here, a nice low kneel on the carriage, taking one arm and wrapping it across the body, holding it in the opposite arm, sweeping away and doing it again on the other side. This time take one elbow up towards the sky behind the head and the other arm clasps. Drape down, other side. Rock out those shoulders and we'll step off of that reformer and into the back well. So watching those straps, they like to bite you on the way in. Facing towards that foot bar and draping the hands over the shoulder rest. Walking back so the hips and the heels are in alignment. Lifting on to the toes, rippling through the spine, we'll find a plank. Option here to drop the pelvis and open the heart through the shoulders. Finding that swan. Nod the chin to the chest and ripple back. Taking an inhale, rippling forward. Exhale to round back. Finding one last plank or swan. And as you ripple back, we start to think about finding a forward fold. Walking the hands along the rails and draping the arms nice and long. Head becomes like a bowling ball, nice and heavy. And as you exhale, slowly lifting up into that standing position, rock those shoulders into the back pocket. And we'll come to stand. Thank you so much for joining in this practice. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did, and I'll see you later. Bye!